Hi everyone, we're Among the Realms, and tonight we have a neat episode about supernatural stories that defy explanation. And Mark will be popping on soon. We have some really neat stories to share, and some that listeners have sent in as well. I know we did some listener stories last week too, or the last episode anyway, and we have some of our own. So. So I know Dana had said
Mm.
she had an awesome story. She was excited for this episode that you have to share. So do you want to start it, Dana?
With my personal story?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, a long time ago, with my first husband, when we were like in our 20s or 30, I can't remember, early 30s, he had a big motorcycle, and we lived in New York City, and we were driving along the East River Drive on this big motorcycle, and it's that there's these tunnels you go through, and then these overpasses that you go under, and there's a lot of traffic out there usually, and there's people coming on all the time, and it's a pretty tricky place to be, and especially when you're on a motorcycle. Anyway, we're driving along probably about 45 or 50 miles an hour, and this car pulls out right in front of us. Right in front of us.
Oh,
And I
wow.
swear to God, there was no way we could miss that car. And it was like all of a sudden the bumper was the side of the car was there, and then the next thing we knew, we were on the other side of it. And we didn't know how we got there. You know,
Wow.
we didn't know how we got there. And then he pulled over, and we're sitting there shaking, thinking, did that just happen? And we just we is one of those things. It was like we time warped. I don't know what happened. Something
So you don't remember anything from the time you knew you were gonna
hit
like
it,
hit the car to when you were on the other side?
and we were on the other side. It was like it was just immediate, a time jump kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was one of those things that I think I don't know, when your energy, he had a lot of supernatural energy himself. I saw him do some crazy things, and but and he thought that I did, and I never knew that he thought that I did, and I knew that he did. So
Mhm.
between the two of us, we 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 shifted dimensions in a nanosecond in order to not die that day.
Now, when you went onto the other side, did you keep on just riding?
No, we did for a little bit, and then we stopped and pulled over because we were both shaking.
So you literally saw yourself going to hit that car, and then all of a sudden you were still on your motorcycle just on the other side.
On the other side, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just one of those bizarre.
Somebody's watching over you.
it-
Yeah. Or
well,
like you said, little
Yeah.
time warp.
or both of us at the same moment did something, because we
Mhm.
both thought without knowing it, we each one thought the other one was the one that had all the power.
Yeah.
I
And so I was shocked when he told me that, years later in life, that he thought that I always had the supernatural power. And I said, but I know you did, you know. It's like it
Yeah.
was anyway. That's a very short little story, but I'll never forget it. It's one of those things. If it happens, you never forget those kind
And some
of.
people do seem to have like an uncanny ability to, get through things or just have miracles happen to them. Like, you know what I mean? And they do have a specific type of energy, kind of like what you're saying, where people think they have supernatural powers because they just, like we said when we titled it, they just defy any explanation of how did that happen. I mean, we
Yeah.
obviously have ideas, doing this work and being in this field of like we know there are portals and time shifts and entities and higher beings and things like that. But when you're in it and it's happening to you in that moment, you're just, God, I see this, and you don't know what's going to happen until you come out on the other side to see it's going to go.
But you don't ever forget that it actually happened.
Hmm.
You know, it was just one of those, and we were both, and you shake to think about it, because you could have died right then.
Yeah, yeah. And
Like,
there's a lot of people that tell stories like that with the out of body experiences, especially with car accidents or, things more traumatic, where
you're
they say, "Oh, I know, I felt somebody almost lifting me out of it,"
right.
and right,
Yeah.
It's
and
pulling you out of the way into safety or something, right?
right,
Just just
right.
just at the last minute. But whatever it was, it was like time shift because 1 minute here and the next second we're there, and there's no way that could have happened in a normal world, in
Mhm.
a normal place. And it was like, anyway,
Or
that's
just even timing. There was a time during a really bad snowstorm that Rodney and I were outside and we heard like a crack, and he just happened to just barely look behind him, and a massive tree
Oh, yeah. Do you remember?
barely missed him. I mean, barely missed him.
No,
I mean,
I remember that. I was outside shoveling and I froze. I completely froze for no reason. I was looking down, I freeze, and I literally in like I guess you can say in my head, I saw a tree right behind me coming down. And then I turn around and then it starts to crack. You were inside, I thought.
I was right next to you, but I was up on the deck.
I literally saw it happen in my head like about a second and a half before it happened.
Yeah.
And then fell and just missed me.
Like barely. But if he had kept walk, because like I was up on the deck and he was down on the walkway, and if he had not frozen, or like almost
I
in
have
his in
pictures of that.
hindsight of
Yeah,
seeing
I
it,
remember
yeah.
yelling for you. I thought I was alone. I don't remember
No,
seeing.
because I was, well, yeah, you were down shoveling the walkway and I was up on top of the deck. So we
Oh
were
yeah, that's what I meant.
near
Yeah,
each
yeah.
other,
Because
but
you weren't
not,
right next to me because you would have gotten hit by it.
yeah. Well, I meant next to like on the deck because
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
walkway,
yeah.
and it was, I mean, and that's like I said, what was it that made, him just freeze or stop and not keep walking?
I didn't have any
And,
control.
even
I literally like froze. I couldn't move for a second. And there was I didn't, just happened.
well, what these things that just happen,
Yeah, yeah.
it just happened. I mean, what does that mean? That's an intense,
somebody watching over him.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
or we know, I think we know in our that deep down into our genes or whatever you want to call it, we can see the future and we can
mhm.
get out of the way sometimes.
People have talked about things like this happening and attributing it to last second hopping timelines to a timeline where that didn't happen. So
Right.
you're not experiencing
They're
the,
looking at it.
Last second hopping
because
timeline.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what happened to us.
because like they talk about like the multiverse theory where it's all happening at the same time anyway. All outcomes are happening at the exact same time. It's just the matters on which timeline you're jumping on, if that's what happened.
Well, and some timelines you get whacked and some you don't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that, you know what? And if that's an interesting thing, why some that happens to some people and not others,
Yeah.
I mean,
Some people think they have like memories of things that they swear happened, but like for all they know, they were on a different timeline at that point.
Mhm.
Like something that happened to them when they were young, like, oh, I don't remember that happening, but they swear they do.
right.
They may have hopped by accident or not knowing it. It's been said before that we can experience different timelines.
Or
Everything.
even like we talked about this once before, where um children who will remember, you know, like details about lifetimes that they're not in now. They can remember, what they did, who they were, what their name was.
Yeah.
And like if parents research it, they find out that, oh yes, that person really did exist, and they brought those memories back in. But it's still amazing when when people hear those stories. And I know there used to be a show about that with
Yeah.
them, which people thought, it's just so
Chip
amazing
coffee.
that they can remember all those details.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I think it was a
Chip coffee.
chip coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, he did that with kids, didn't he?
It's funny because I remember all that stuff too, seeing it on TV and listening to that stuff. And when it's like irrefutable. This child has memories of names of people he knew and how like certain things worked. Like one kid was a pilot in a previous life, and he remembered and drew out the entire airplane, not ever seeing one. He was a child, but like
Mm.
after that, we sit here and we think about it. Like there's nowhere really else to go from there. How like, what?
Well, you can't make it up.
That's
A child can't know all of that
no.
information. And they
It's
also
just
know like adult information that they wouldn't have even learned yet.
no.
You
And then
know,
they try saying it's like cell memory. That's fine, but like
well, even
from
if
what
well, they did
lineage?
bring it in from the lifetime, but it's the point. I think
Yeah,
it's the
I think
fact that
it's
that soul retained all of that is still
the soul
amazing.
retained it. Yeah,
And,
because
and
like
at
they,
such a small young age.
yeah, there's no other way to think about it. But then that's the door we're at now. Like, okay, so then when, how does this happen? And most people just sort of brush it off and just kind of go to the next subject because it's not explainable right now, at least.
Mm.
I mean, and most like we've obviously know a lot of amongst ourselves and other people that most people have had something happen to them that either they can't explain or they're like a holy shit moment basically.
Yeah.
Are we 5 minutes in? Right? We can swear.
Oh, we're good. Yeah, we're fine.
Um, so when you compile all those stories and you're hearing them or people are sharing them, you're like, wow, this stuff is really, I mean, how could you make up all of that? All these different people, with all these different things that have happened, and not even just, on a spirit end or something like that, but just like what you were talking about, like with the tree or Dana. I mean, that's really cool. You don't even stop. It's not like they wiped out and she just has a blip in a memory because of the trauma. She literally, she was on the road and then she was on the other side from,
Yeah.
the obstacle
And
or the,
and
the
where's that where's
obstruction.
that where's that split second memory at of what actually happened, you know?
It's not there. It
Yeah,
happened.
that's what I
It
mean.
happened.
Like it exists somewhere.
It happened so fast that
Yeah.
it was a time shift. To me, it was always a time shift. We were grabbed out of this time frame and thrown into the next time frame just enough to get that car passed.
Mm,
Yeah.
And that's the way I always explain it to myself.
yeah, yeah. Well, and again, you guys were meant to be here. You weren't meant to go, to have that. And maybe also, like you said, sometimes we can manifest amazing things with
Like,
two strong energies working together. And that was just the timing. That was just like we're always told we have, like you said, I don't know that I'd still be here. And we always talk about how we have multiple exit points, and that's just an exit point that you didn't have to take.
Hmm.
And something intervened that you didn't need to see
Yeah,
it because you're
it's
not
like
even doubting it. You know that it happened.
it's like when you meditate or something and you go into that trance and you don't know how much time is passing. It feels like 2 hours, but it was 5 minutes.
mm.
In that time frame, there could have been a whole soul meeting with you discussing, wait, should I go now? Do I stay? All right, well, let's stay a little. Like time is only a physical human thing. Wherever that memory is existing in timelessness.
Well, time we know is not exact. It's not
Yeah.
an exact science. Time is, you know,
I think we kind of just made it up to kind of like schedule, like, once around the sun, 365 a year. It's almost like something that we can
so you get the
kind of
meanings in time.
control in a sense.
It's like,
Yeah.
And we actually have a few stories that we're each going to share, um that people sent
sent in.
in. So who wants to do theirs first? Me. No, you want to do yours first?
Oh, Rodney or me?
uh Rodney, you want
That's,
to go
yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
yours?
that's fine. Okay, so this one is from a man in Virginia. So it says, my parents were living in Virginia. He and mom were driving down to the main road, which is 4 lanes, and he got a strong message to slow down and stay in his lane that he was in. He raced cars when he was younger, and he looked in his rearview mirror. And when he got that message, and sure enough, a car was racing down the road with another car and swerved to avoid hitting the car in their path. My dad told my mom, "Don't panic and hold on." The racing car had caught the drift of the back of the end of the other car. It flew up into the air, flew over the front of the hood of my parents' car, and crash landed 2 lanes over from them.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
That split second, don't move from your lane, literally saved lives. Literally.
It's again the
And it's something that
intuition,
was going to happen. Something somewhere saw this happening. It was going to happen. They can't stop it. In that moment that he was able to get that information and quickly move. Thank God we don't question that kind of stuff. Like intuition, like we question it, but like really, real serious moments seem like
So he
it
got
worked.
information ahead of time.
Yeah.
When you get information ahead of time, and this happens all the time, if you
Yeah.
Mhm.
have attention.
Which kind of means like maybe it already did happen. It's just like the whole multiverse thing again. It all comes back to
Right.
experiencing a certain timeline, I think.
And especially just something that like, profound where the car is flipping over the top of you,
Wow. Whoa.
you know, and just knowing like, wait a minute, something's making me feel like I need to stay here. That was strong enough, that you're not gonna, because a lot of people would just wait, I'm getting out of the way, or I'm gonna cross over the lanes, or I'm right. And
Yeah.
he just got told, just stay, like we're just staying
But
here.
what's interesting is he was looking in his rearview mirror, seeing these cars coming. Had he not gotten told that, he would have tried to avoid it and gotten hit.
Mhm.
He specifically got told, "Don't move your lane." And then he saw these things coming, he saw the cars coming up behind him, and then he listened. He
So,
didn't
so he
panic.
didn't know what was going to happen on this surface, but he
Hmm.
was enough that he told his wife to hang on tight and
Yeah.
don't freak out, you know?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I
Hi. Rodney just shared a story about a couple that was driving on the highway, and the husband saw cars behind him, and he just got this feeling to not to that something bad was going to happen, and to stay in the lane he was in, and then the cars flipped over the top of him, and went a few lanes over. So he just felt like this, like he had to just stay there, but he knew something was going to happen. Was
nice.
was really cool. Not cool that it happened, cool that he got that information and listened to it, you
Hmm.
know, strong enough for him to listen to it anyway. In those moments, like we were just saying, you're so like, you're heightened with your, you know, um, super heightened in what's going on in that moment. So not everybody thinks very clear
It's
in those
following
type
your
of
intuition
situations.
also.
Huh?
It's like following your intuition, when
Yeah.
you're at the Mexican place, you're like, maybe I shouldn't get that 15th taco.
Yeah, we do that too. You eat one thing too many,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
you suffer the rest of the night.
I should have followed my
Um,
eggs out I had for lunch.
do you want to share yours, Dana?
Sure. This is a little short story. My mother transplanted a rose bush from my grandfather's farm about 40 years ago. It took, but never bloomed. At that point, she only kept it because it grew into the fence nicely and kept us kids from climbing it. My grandfather died about 5 years after she transplanted it, and that spring it bloomed red roses. A few years after that, my grandmother died, and the spring after it bloomed white roses. These are the only 2 years it has ever bloomed.
Oh, yeah. That's
Wow.
great.
So it
What
bloomed
an
red
awesome
roses
story.
and white, two different colors of flowers, and the only time it
Right.
bloomed was right after, as like a funeral kind of tribute to the grandparents.
And the only time that has ever happened that they saw it. What a great story.
Isn't that a beautiful story?
It
Wow.
is. And how do you explain that? Except for that it, you know, something from the other side, or just for a sign. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, you're into gardening, Rodney.
Mhm.
I'm always drawn to say
Well,
Dave,
plants. Well,
but
I mean, that's
because we're on the
yeah.
podcast, I have to
um,
think of what your name is.
well, it's
Um,
interesting. Well, I mean, like, because they're roses, plants don't just change their own colors. Like one year, if I remember correctly, it was white one year, and then it never.
It was
and
red for
then
the
red the next.
grandmother,
Yeah, yeah, plants don't do
grandfather,
that.
white for the grandmother, yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
And the only 2 years it has ever bloomed in 40 years.
Yeah, that's
That's
not.
crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great that like they have that forever as, signs from you know, their grandparents.
Yeah.
So, and that, they get to carry that forever and they get to share it, just like we
Yeah.
did for them.
Yeah, I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Whoever shared that. Yeah.
So I have one, which is a different type of one. Let me look it over here. Okay. I was having same day surgery done with anesthesia, and I remember starting to wake up and hearing a loud pop, and then a rush of like static wind as voices started getting clearer. The anesthesiologist said they were having a hard time waking me up, and I was telling him in a different name and year that I was born when he was asking me questions. I don't recall the name or year as I was still groggy and dozed off on my way to recovery. So basically, when they went under anesthesia, they I went back to a time where they either popped into like we seem to be having a lot of that today, of a timeline or a lifetime that they were somebody else. So when they heard somebody asking questions, they were sharing names and dates of who they were in that lifetime as opposed to this.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've not heard of that before. I've heard of people doing that in hypnosis and things like that, but if you're deep enough in anesthesia, you're gonna go out into those um what do you want to call it? Like into those other realms and stuff too sometimes then. I mean, there's some
Uh-huh.
people that have some amazing stories under anesthesia.
Yeah.
I've
I
just
Yeah.
not heard
remember
one like that.
I remember that. When I go under anesthesia, it's 1 minute I'm there and then I'm gone and then I'm straight out again. I mean, it's like there's no in between. I
Yeah, for me either. It was just good night and hello.
that's
Just
Yeah.
right.
woke up groggy. It was so sudden. They
What
said I was having conversations with them. I have no memory.
Right.
what I did the thing where they put me on this countdown and I was like fighting it. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
I'm not.
me too.
Then I'm like, wait, I have a colonoscopy. I don't want to be awake for this. No,
Yeah.
but it was weird. It's like I don't like there was like just going out and just going up. There was like when you sleep, you slept.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For me, there was no like okay, I was under. There was no like I knew time had passed. It was like oh, here I am. Where did that past chunk of time just go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still a
Yeah,
lot of stories with people tapping into these other lifetimes and things.
I haven't. Speaking of tapping into other lifetimes, I have one. It's not the one that you sent me. It's one that I've always enjoyed. Um, it's about Terry Cottle and Sonny Graham. I don't know if you ever heard these names before, but
Mhm.
it has to do with a heart transplant. So
Oh, I know which one it
Oh yeah,
is.
I know
yeah,
what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
share that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
so I'm not going to go to the full aspects because it's a very, very long, detailed story. But there was a gentleman named Terry Cottle who ended up he was a very strapping guy, big time hunter and everything like this. Ended up getting sick, and at one point he just committed suicide. But he shot himself, and he was alive for a couple of days later. And his wife made the decision that his organs would save more lives, and blah blah blah. So a man named Sonny Graham got the heart. Sonny Graham was, I believe, he ran golf events over in the southeast, like I think Carolinas or something like that. But he had this very distinctive personality. So after he got his heart transplant, there's a lot of times where recipients will reach out to the donors of the family. It's all anonymous and just say thank you and blah blah blah. Well, eventually he found he got in touch like personally with the ex-wife or the widow of the person who got his heart. The story goes, Sonny Graham and his wife went down to visit her and have a dinner together. And as soon as he saw her, he started feeling like he's known her for all these years. He felt like he was in love with her. He eventually marries her, dumps his wife, gets with her. Now, after his heart transplant, a lot of his friends are noticing that he has all these new mannerisms. He has a love of, I think it was hot dogs, which Terry Cottle absolutely loved. And this guy never ate this kind of stuff. He would do certain things, say certain things. The way he would pronounce certain words turned out were all the mannerisms of this Terry Cottle, the man who received his heart from. So fast forward a while, he ends up committing suicide almost to the day. I think it was like 10 years later or 15 years later, to the day, the exact same way that this man committed suicide.
Jeez.
And it's interesting how you talk about memory, because a lot of times when people get these transplants, children receive transplants from other things, and they start having visions of how this other died or how the other person died, and they'll pick up their mannerisms. They'll say things. They'll have total recollections of their life. So what I think, it's amazing how, just the memory of your life is embedded in the tissue of our bodies.
Yeah.
How transferring that over will transfer those thoughts, those deeds. Well,
we were talking about this before with people who have past lives, who like kids who were born with a whole memory of things from a past life. There's no tissue there, so we were like, because the cell memory gets passed genetically, and I've heard this story too before, and I think it's true, because there is something called the heart mind. It has an energy and a mind of its own, the heart itself. And we were talking, we're like, I get things being passed down from cell memory, from tissue or muscle, however it is. But then when it comes from reincarnation, there's no connection physically at all. So you wonder where that's at.
Oh, I got something for you. Now, I gave you guys this as homework years ago, and I know you didn't. But do you remember me talking about a movie called I, Origins?
Yep.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yes, and how you guys were supposed to watch it because it was great. I'm going to tell you about it right now, because
you failed that homework.
You definitely failed that homework, and it's something you need to do. And the viewers at home, oh my God. Movie. So the premise of the movie is the eye is the window to the soul. That's what it's based on. So you have a near future, there's a technology where people are born, their retinas are scanned, and that's how you are pretty much that's like your social security number. That's how you're identified. Well, they're now that recently some of these kids, they're scanning with these people, their eyes are scanning with people that recently passed. And it's going into a thing of, okay, this is kind of weird. What's going on? Well, one of the guys involved in the project, his girlfriend dies a horrific death. She's actually killed in an elevator accident. It's like something out of Resident Evil, how it happens. It's bad, it's gruesome, it's traumatic. Fast forward a little bit. There's a girl that it scans. His girlfriend pops up. Now, this girl is way in India. She's just a child. So the movie is him going over to find this child. And there are so many similarities between what these people are feeling that are scanning with people that passed. And not to ruin the movie, but the end, it leaves it open where he meets this girl, he talks to her, and there's some kind of commonality in there. And at the very last scene, she walks past an elevator, stares at it, and just freezes.
It's amazing.
But there's more. There's more to it. I don't want to spoil it, but for people who want to watch it.
Yeah, the description sounds very familiar.
Yeah,
I definitely want to watch it.
And again, like reincarnation, you're coming. You might not remember everything, but there might be fragments of that life coming back.
Exactly.
Feelings coming back.
There's obviously some kind of memory that's not physical. You know, like it's crazy.
It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, really? Sweet. I Origin. Okay. I remember this. Yeah.
Yes. See, that's why I gave you good homework. So we're still going to do this lesson.
I think I'll watch it.
We all got zeros.
It's delayed homework. I don't penalize for lateness.
Yeah, we have to watch that. Did you ever see we started watching the series. I think we're still in the first season. The one named Manifest.
Manifest.
With the plane.
Ooh,
with the plane
I
It
saw that.
took off and then it ended up landing 5 years later. When they were up in the air,
Crazy.
they they hit turbulence
Mm-hmm.
and everything. But when they landed, all these like military people and police and FBI and everything come out and they're like, "What's going on?" And they ended up 5 years in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
amazing.
And
that's on. But you
they
can
didn't
watch that.
age. They didn't age on the plane.
No, it was
No.
instantaneous.
Everybody aged around
It
them.
was like complete time dilation.
And
Yeah.
then they
The
find then
pills they
each of
got.
them starts to have these like some types of
Oh,
abilities
abilities
as
too.
yeah.
Yeah. They
That's
slowly started to grow abilities over time.
a wonderful
That's
story.
crazy.
Mhm.
I don't think we realize how real that scenario is. Like planes going missing, the Bermuda Triangle, like portals opening up,
Oh yeah,
ghost
ships. What
ships,
about the
Well,
just
ghost ships?
Philadelphia experiment. That was real.
I do have a lot of stuff on the, like ideas on the Bermuda Triangle to explain a lot of the things that happen over there, but that could be a totally different a show one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On topic. But yeah, so eye origins, the eyes, the soul, reincarnation, cell memory with transplants, people remembering things. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
You got to be
That's
careful who
cool.
you get your transplant from, right?
Oh, I know.
Seriously,
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's so much more to this than
Right.
we think. Like, if you get a liver transplant, yeah, I mean,
And this is seriously,
crazy.
there was, what I love about this, there is a lot of documentation on this. It's not just,
Yeah.
yeah, I heard from, so and so's best friend and then down the street's cousin that they saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night. No, it is actual physical documentation. Studies have been done by this. And
Yeah.
it read up and it was fantastic.
Wow.
So
How do you go to
take
the
care of
next
your
step after that?
take care of your kidneys, Mark.
Yeah, I know, right? Imagine somebody that gets mine. Ooh, they're gonna have a fun life.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate, like, what if you get a heart from somebody that was like a fitness freak and like you just change your whole diet changes and everything?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
could
you're
potentially,
healthier.
yeah, right?
I mean, you look at
Now,
right there. We're gonna start going to gyms, taking people, clock them on the head. Here,
yeah.
yes.
I have so
Or
many
you
questions
get
now.
somebody who played the piano.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Oh my.
was I had read a story once about which when we talk about our creepy energies and stuff that we see, there was a story about these four kids that were out. I think they were camping or something, and they heard somebody whisper from the woods, "Leave now." And they got so scared that they got all their stuff together and went to leave. And when they looked and when they got to their truck, there was a slender man was leaning up against their car, but he had no
Hmm.
feet. There was nothing, from like a feet or anything. It was just the big tall hat and the dark energy. And he was leaning up against their car. And then because they were a distance away, and as they got closer, he just disappeared. And we have done episodes in the past or just, have talked, a lot about that particular energy where, a lot of people have seen him. He's supposed to be some tall, thin, creepy, dark, not nice
Yeah.
energy. But the fact that, it's a story told by, teenagers, who, maybe not even knew what that was, and when they described it, other people were telling them, hey, yeah, this person's known as Slender Man,
So is that
and he
in that
didn't want them there.
yeah, is that in that park in New Jersey? What's that big park in New Jersey everybody's afraid of?
Oh, the Pine Barrens.
The Pine Barrens, yes. Was it the
Oh,
Pine?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with the Jersey Devil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have the same kind of energies. Um, but
Well, what about when people there's stories of them, they're on planes and they just someone tells them to get off, leave. They're hearing this
oh
voice.
yeah,
Leave, the damn thing.
Yeah.
like Final Destination.
Yeah. You
And
know,
then they say like you disrupt the time, the when you're disrupting, the pattern of what it's supposed to be, technically about when you were supposed to pass. But we were just talking about this earlier. We have more than one exit point. So, on those ones where like, okay, this is your you don't really need to take this exit point, right? So on those, I think that is, you know, um, outside energies who are either helping you to, not have that happen to you, or like it showed in that movie for anybody who's seen, what were there? There were a lot of them. I think
There
there's
was a lot
five,
of
right? That they say it comes, death finds you, right? The Grim Reaper basically finds you and takes you out like that. Now, obviously, we know, it doesn't technically work that way. But the concept of just how everything was falling into place for something to happen and you
Mhm.
couldn't make that up. It was just
Yeah,
no matter what, it just happened to fall exactly in the right place.
it was like a Rube Goldberg series of events to make that happen. Couldn't just get like, okay, heart attack. No, it's this has to fall this way with the raindrop. It was awesome. Do you know Final Destination 2 takes place up here?
Oh yeah.
That was oh yeah, Route 23, Route 80, right?
It's got they had talk about Route
Oh yeah,
3. They
that's
talk
right.
about Greenwood Lake. They talk about going down the shore, which is a Jersey thing.
Yes.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so for anybody that watches it, you have a truck with the trees, and you just freak out. All
Do
right.
you want to read the story you had?
Yeah, the one I got there. Hold
The
on.
one that was sent in? Yeah.
Yes, let me pull that one up because I was going through it. I was like, first one, I just had it open over here. Well,
That's a cool one too. I mean, we did get some all different types of ones. I think that was Mark's keyboard.
yeah, that was my keyboard over there. No, because I had everything pulled up ahead of time, but it's all hidden over here to make sure because I want to get everything like in sequence. So, oh, this is the one from last week with the spoon.
Yeah, we tried to do this. Um, the one with we had
Yeah,
one with a spoon.
we already talked about the spoon one.
Oh no, that was the one from the week. But yeah, the one with
Yeah,
the you have the one with the flashlight.
yes, this was. Oh my god! And so, what I love about this is, like, we used to joke about on the ships, there'd be like a portal where nothing ever comes back from, that you drop and you're never going to see it. So I'm this thing, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. So so one time I dropped a large mag light in the middle of the night, about 3 or 4 a.m. I was living in a townhouse at the time and shared my bedroom wall with a neighbor. The walls were somewhat thin, so I was very nervous when I dropped that baton that was being annoying. I was trying to close it and it slipped from my hand and it fell and I couldn't find it after it slammed on the floor at the dead of night. I looked for about 20 minutes and I said, I'll find it eventually. I never found it. Um, I even moved all the furniture out of the room. I believe it fell into poor. Still to this day, had a lot more paranormal things happen in that bedroom. But oh my God, does that happen so many times? Um, just simple things. You put them down. You have no idea where they went. I
Yeah, they
put them down.
disappear.
Do you know how many times I've lost my keys only to have them show up in the exact same spot I put them in? And I looked there, and my wife looked there, and my kids looked there. Everybody looked there. I had drones flying over the house looking for these keys, and boom, no, and there they are again. Oh, that fires me.
Or the things that disappear like that person where it just disappears forever.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had that. We've been looking for the lid to the top of our cat, the thing that holds the cat food.
Yeah,
It just disappeared, and
I was
same
looking for it
thing,
today.
everything, took everything apart. I mean, it was just gone. So you take it off, you put it down, you feed the animals, you turn around, and then it just disappears, and you can't make that stuff up because most people are like, nah, it rolled under something. Not when you tear everything up. There's nothing for it. It's too big to
Mhm.
lose. Kind of like, that guy with the flashlight. Like you can't, there's some things, little ones, it's different, but when it's something huge,
Yeah, a
So
maglite.
I have a feeling that there's some ethereal wormholes that come around and just kind of pop
mm,
randomly.
Yeah, yeah,
Traveling
Same
wormholes.
dimension. So there's a dimension right now full of maglites that people have dropped,
yeah.
full of
Right,
keys,
probably.
full of everything and anything you can think of. It's there.
Keys, toothbrushes.
Oh my God, brushes. You know how much loose change is probably going to be around
oh,
there?
probably.
Mm.
Do you know there was a story similar to that about a family who had that in their attic? that
Okay.
in one area of their attic, every time they put something there, it just disappeared. And they could never, and they said the same thing. They always felt like there was like a warp in the energy there where
Yeah.
if it was over in that one spot, that it would just, so they would be like, we can't put this over too far into this spot because it's not, it doesn't, it's not going to be there. It's just going to disappear.
Ooh, they should have invited us to investigate that, right?
Right.
Yeah. There's an ET somewhere wearing a Van Halen shirt.
Oh yeah. So you remember the movie The Sixth Sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a scene in there, and it was a running scene where the mom, she kept accusing her son of taking like her grandma's brooch or her grandma's piece of jewelry or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It was her, and she'd like get mad at him, send him to his room, and at the very end, I think he tells her that like, you know, grandma's sorry she keeps taking the brooch, but she just likes it and it's pretty and she misses it because it would disappear and then it would come back. And it's the same thing, like thing in the house. You might have someone or something just
Mhm.
to an object that reminds them of their past life, or for some reason they're drawn to it and they have to have it, and then it comes back again.
I think it's neat, but we pretty much think all that stuff is neat anyway. I mean, we think it's neat when we're talking to, when we're sitting in an empty room in the dark and we play it back and we hear an entire conversation going on with us. You know, how do you make that up? How do you make an entire conversation, or at least a back and forth when you're asking questions where there's actual, where you hear it, and you can't make that up. Because sometimes there are supernatural things that's why they're called supernatural, because there's enough of them that weren't explainable, or maybe they can't exactly figure it out. We know there's another realm. We know they're there. We know there are times they can communicate with us, but we also know there are times where, people might know they're there, but they can't. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not getting that stuff. And because it's not consistent, it's not always easy for
Yeah, I
every
remember.
person to like
Yeah.
to embrace that. You know what I mean?
We're living in a world where frequency of each other individually and a collective is changing constantly. Like one minute we can all be in a great place and the vibration's a little higher, a little more supernatural stuff's going to happen, or the world could be in a very low place and a lot less supernatural things can happen. I think that portals do pop up here and there, left and right, because I think energy is constantly changing. I think we're constantly just vibrating up, down, left,
I
right,
think
left.
I think there are specific locations, so obviously,
Yes, I was just gonna
Sure.
say that. Yeah, I
yeah,
Oh,
agree.
yeah, certain parts of the
have
people.
a tendency
I
to.
think people like migrate to certain areas for that reason too, just like unconsciously.
Sedona,
Yeah.
Arizona.
Where that
Sedona, yeah, Sedona.
there is a
Yeah.
portal in every single dryer in the world.
Yeah.
Because how many
With the sock, that
I
extra.
agree on that
And under
one.
the hood of every car.
Yeah,
'Cause
the
I have
that-
bolt
a
does
million
not
single socks.
yeah.
8 pairs go in, 7.5. Where did the one go? And if you're
Yeah.
Right?
it's possible.
Or underwear. Rodney never has any.
I'm wearing yours. Yeah.
Hi.
Underwear and socks. Right? That was great, guys. Lots of cool stories. I'm sure we could probably go for hours, so we'll have more shows
Yeah,
like
we're
this.
getting into the spirit coming up now. Yeah.
And if anybody who's listening has a cool like holy crap story, definitely send it in.
Yeah.
We'd definitely love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So, or if you have a suggestion of any type of episode you want us to do, we're up for that. We pretty much cover anything paranormal or metaphysical. So,
I know we love talking about this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
all right. Have a
All
great night,
right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.